I feel like now's the perfect time to make First off, I want to start out by saying huge thank you to the subscribers of the channel. I reached 103 subscribers, which is a really big deal for me. Typically, I started off this channel as just like to watch YouTube, and now I'm at 103 subscribers, which is pretty insane, which I know for a lot of people, they're probably like, that's nothing. But I want to appreciate you guys, say thank you. Thank you to everyone that is subscribed. If you are not, welcome to the channel. You could press the subscribe button, it's free. So in today's video, I want to go over my experience working at Toyota, which is a car dealership. But this is kind of like a piggyback off of my previous video of working at Dunkin' Donuts, mostly because that video, apparently a lot of people liked it. It hit 14,000 views the other day. So here is another one. So my experience working at Toyota. Overall, dealerships are great to work at. They're good money. You get to meet a lot of cool people in terms of customers as well as employees as well. So first, I'm going to start off by saying how I originally got there. So after working at Dunkin' Donuts, I applied to work at the Toyota dealership well, not really by my house, but it was about an hour and a half away from my house. So I worked there. I applied for the car wash position, and I was washing cars for about a month actually. But so that's where I started out. I was washing customer cars after service, doing some details for the sales department, as well as like new car sales, pre-owned, things like that, detailing all those cars. And then 2 weeks later, my boss came up to me and he said, "Hey, you're doing a great job. I'm going to give you a promotion." So I was like, okay. I was like, what am I going to be doing? So he moved me to the BDC department, which is Business Development Center. Essentially, that is when you call into a dealership to schedule service for your car in terms of oil change, tire rotation, anything. You got damaged, whatever, you popped a tire, anything like that. You would speak to one of us. So as soon as you call a dealership, we would answer, be like, "Thank you for calling such and such. May I help you with scheduling a service appointment or get you over to an advisor?" And they would say schedule service, and you're like, "Okay, great. May I have a good phone number for you or first and last name?" And we'd look you up in their system through that. We'd click on your name, go to your car, add your services. Customer states wants oil change, or we have an oil change actual like op code. So we'll put oil change in there. If you have any other thing you want to talk about, antenna's broken, or a customer request to look at, dent and door, we would put that down as well. So overall, that position, I didn't really enjoy it that much, mostly because my boss, she didn't like me and I did not like her. I'm not going to name any names for the sake of personal lives, but that job is more, if you like sitting at a desk for 8-9 hours, it's a great job for you. If you do not, you like to be on your feet, moving all day long, I do not recommend that position. In terms of pay wise, it wasn't terrible, but it also wasn't great. So I think base salary, we got like a $12,000 base salary, and then we also got commission on top of that, which was if you called into the dealership and we scheduled an appointment and you showed up, I think it was like $3. And then, or if I called you, in terms of if you had a part ordered and I'm giving you a call to get it installed in your vehicle. So let's just say you ordered a mirror. I called you, said, "Hey, looks like your part's in. Would you like to get an appointment scheduled in here to get it taken care of?" You said yes. I scheduled it in there. I put Christian Smith outbound, and they tracked it by the op code. So you put Christian Smith inbound or outbound. So if you called in or if I called you. So the inbound was $3 and the outbound was like, I think it was like $8 to $10. So that was our commission portion. It was bi-weekly. So I know a lot of people now with COVID, that did impact the dealership a lot in terms of customers coming in, as well as calling dealerships. So there would be days I would sit there for probably around 4 or 5 hours and not receive a single phone call. So in terms of my job, $12,000 a year is not a lot. You could barely even live off of that nowadays, especially with just gas prices. But so with no customers calling in there really wasn't any commission. So I wasn't happy doing it, mostly because I was sitting all day and I had to deal with all the females. It was only females in the office. I was the only male. So they were just bickering back and forth and things like that. So that really wasn't my area. So luckily my boss promoted me then to service advisor, which a service advisor is the person when you come into the dealership. I was the person that greeted you, said, "Hey, welcome to such and such. It looks like you have an appointment here for today, correct?" And they'd say, "Yes." Be like, "Looks like you're coming in for oil change, tire rotation, mount balance, whatever." And you say yes, and I'd be like, "Okay, great. Is there anything else you want to talk about this time or go over?" And they'd say no, be like, okay, would you like a shuttle service? We do offer that. Are you gonna be waiting in our waiting room? Oftentimes they waited, but so with that, I mostly did like the quick services in the beginning. So I did like oil change and rotates. That was basically it. So I really didn't have any commission per se, because you really can't like. So most of our commission was sales, as well as in the sales department, you get a commission off of your sale, as well as being a service advisor. So with the quick lube is technically what it was. I basically just did all that easy stuff. So there really wasn't anything I could recommend to the customer, being you or any other person that walked in. Any other additional services on top of that, mostly because they're free by Toyota. So if you're not paying anything for your service, it's free. Why would you want to spend money to get something else if it's just like wiper blades or a filter or something like that? So most customers declined, which obviously I would probably do the same. So I really didn't get a commission. I think my pay there was like 17,000 a year. So it was a slight increase. It wasn't great, but it wasn't terrible. So a little backstory actually on a service advisor position. Presumably if you are right out of high school, right out of college, anything like that, I would highly recommend it. Mostly because you get a mix of sitting as well as being on your feet, being super busy. That all depends really what dealership you go to. I know Toyota personally has a big customer base, mostly due to the warranties and factory services on their vehicles. So you get a lot of customers coming back to you. You have a lot of retention. So mostly with that, you do sit a lot, yes. But when it's super busy, and it also depends on how many appointments you have. So I know at one point we had like 60 appointments a day, which isn't great if you think about it, but it was pretty decent we only had like 384 advisors. So there's only 3-4 of us all day writing 60 cars. And you're dealing with every single customer that comes in. So you might get like 3 cars at once, and you're trying to balance all 3 of those at one time. And let's just say a technician comes up and recommends something. You have to go out and talk to that person. If you have one person that left, you have to worry about giving them a call. So it is stressful in that aspect of balancing what you're doing it. So you have to be able to multitask. Multitasking is a great, if you have that skill, I'd highly recommend that, or teaching yourself how to. I know personally me, sometimes I like to just do things one at a time. So I did get really stressed out at some points. But overall, for a starting position, all you need for a service advising position is basically a high school diploma. That's it. You don't need any college degree, no nothing. And it's a 6-figure job title. So obviously starting out, you're not going to make 6 figures, but once you become more experienced, you build rapport with service advising, you're going to be making probably 6 figures a year. Mostly in any type of dealership you go to for service advising, you're going to have a base salary, probably let's say close to $25,000 a year. Now that's a lot better than BDC. So $25,000 a year, and you also have your commission as well based upon what you sell. So if you came in for an oil change, but during the multiple inspection that we do on vehicles, it came up like, oh, your brakes are low. So I came out to you, said, hey, it looks like our technician found your brakes are low. Typically we recommend replacement at around 2 millimeters, which is what your brakes are at. And actually 2 millimeters where you'll fail Pennsylvania state inspection. So a lot of times when someone came in for state inspection, I know at our dealership we did free state inspections. So they didn't pay anything for the state. They might have had to pay admissions based if they lived in an admissions county. But that's a whole different topic. So typically if we measure the brakes are at 2s, they need brake replacement, or else we will fail them for state inspection, and they won't have inspected vehicles. So then they can get pulled over, get a ticket, fines, things like that. So a lot of customers in that aspect did buy the brakes, even though, yes, you could probably get them done cheaper doing them yourself, which is a lot. People are oftentimes, especially in the area that our dealership was in, I'm just going to have my neighbor do it, or I'm just going to have my mom and pop shop do it. And that's great. I highly recommend you go to mom and pop shops, support them, especially during this time. But most oftentimes, I would recommend going to dealerships if it's more than just any type of brake job. So if it's a more serious part, obviously, if you had to take things off, go to a dealership. But what most people don't realize is at a dealership, you're paying a person to do the work. You're paying everybody else involved as well as the parts. So that's why it's also more expensive. I do see how some people might think, oh, they're trying to rip me off, which yes and no. There are some advisors out there, which is not just the business itself, it's the advisor you're working with. So some advisors out there will try to squeeze in an extra $50 on top of what they quoted you, or they'll quote you higher than what the job actually costs to do. So if you got a brake job done, typically it was like $295 plus tax, and that's for front brakes, especially on Toyotas. So if you had an advisor that quoted you $295, which is exactly what it costs to do it, that's great. You're not getting ripped off. But if you go to a dealership and you say, hey, this brake job is going to cost you like around $350. Do you want to do it? And you say yes, he's playing you there. He's just trying to get more money out of you. I mean, a lot of dealerships and advisors do it, mostly because they want that money retention. It looks better on the business as well as the advisor himself or herself. Me personally, I didn't do that. If I quoted you something, it was exactly what the work was. It wasn't anything else. I might have quoted you an extra $10, but that was for if the technician broke anything, and we needed to replace it, rather than coming out and ask you to be like, hey, it looks like during the repair, a technician broke something. Now it's going to cost you an extra $20. So that's the reason I quoted them an extra like $10, but it wasn't anything crazy. Just because it was for incidentals. A lot of technicians do break things when they do something, mostly because older cars, they're rusted out. I had multiple technicians break bolts just because they're rusted, and they have to break them to be able to do the work. So we just replaced the bolts around like $1, $2. So that's like the extra wiggle room there for any type of incidental. Overall, advising is great, and it's definitely stressful, like I mentioned. So if you can't handle stress well, it's not for you. But if you can overcome the stress, multitask, have great customer service skills, it's a good six-figure paying position up to, I'd say, the service advisor that I worked with, he was making around $120,000 a year. That's after tax. So overall, it's pretty good for no college degree, anything like that. And then I got moved back to BDC, and obviously I hated that before, so I hated it again. This time I was there for a lot longer, and yeah, so I kind of just like stuck with it. And then after that, I actually quit because I joined the military. Now I'm back from that. I was actually only in the military. I was in boot camp still. I was only in for 2 months, and then I got out, mostly medical reasons. I had a hernia, so it would require surgery. They said, hey, it looks like you have a hernia. It's going to take you like 6 months to recover. And I was like, yeah, no. That's still a potential option for future. But as of right now, I'm just kind of putting that on pause and doing my thing with advising. But then I got back to advising after I actually got back. But this time I was actually writing all work. It wasn't just like quick lube jobs or anything like that. So if you recommended work, I recommended it. And believe it or not, the area we were in, we only had 30 appointments, which wasn't great. So there really wasn't any opportunity to make money, especially the area that we're in. People didn't make a lot of money, so they didn't want to spend, an arm and a leg on their car, which is understandable. I wouldn't want to do that either. I think the most I sold was like $26,000 in a week. That was because a customer needed an engine. He bought a used car, his engine blew up, and he needed an engine. And I didn't rip him off on that either. I quoted him what everything exactly was, but at that point you're quoting the engine, the oil, all the fluids for the new engine, things like that. So overall, if you're looking for a good job field to go into, I would say becoming a service advisor is definitely a great one. Or anything in a car dealership is definitely great experience-wise, not only for money, but also to teach yourself new skills. So if that's not a job field you're looking to stay in forever, but I mean 6 figures in the future, I would definitely recommend it. Stick with it. I would apply how I started, car wash. Especially if you're a hard worker, you're going to move up pretty quick. I know anywhere I go, for some reason, I always get promoted relatively quickly. Typically, it takes about a month and I get a promotion, and I moved into something else. So like I said, if it's something you're interested in, I'd recommend you take a look at it. Pretty good pay. Right now, dealerships are kind of suffering, like I mentioned, from COVID. So the pay might not be great because people are too scared to go out and go anywhere, especially the elderly, which is a big clientele for Toyota itself. A lot of elderly own Toyotas. I'm not saying that it's strictly elderly people. I know a lot of young people buy them as well because they're reliable cars. So overall, that's about it for my experience working at Toyota. Nothing bad, nothing nothing insane. But like I said, you will have some people that will rip you off at a dealership. So that's why when people say, oh, don't go to a dealership, they'll charge you too much money, I definitely agree in some aspects, but it all depends on who you get personally. So what I'd recommend is building a rapport with somebody there, with one person. And whenever you schedule a service, you can ask for somebody. So you can be like, I request such and such as my advisor. And they'll put that as a note. And then the advisor will obviously look at that. Or you can schedule it directly with that advisor, him or herself. So if I have a customer that prefers me over everybody, they'll come speak to me. Or some advisors will give out the personal numbers. I know I do sometimes, depending on what it is, mostly because I don't want to be blown up. So you could also do it that way. You can shoot them a text, call them directly, set up an appointment directly with them, so you're not going through a middleman, and have what you need done. Get someone you can trust, definitely, because they can save you some money, give you some discounts, things like that. I know I gave people discounts, even if just for it being a Friday, because ultimately I wasn't in it for strictly the money. I was in it to just learn and absorb. Plus making customers happy, making people happy. I know things happen in life as well. So I know me personally, I don't even think I was advising at one point, but there's an older gentleman that couldn't pay his bill. He just got his truck fixed. I think he was around like 75, 80 years old. But he couldn't pay his bill. I think the bill was like $256. So I was in the office at that point, and the customer came in, and he was like, oh, I can't pay that, but I really need my truck. So I went over to the accounting office and said, hey, I have this customer's bill. I would like to pay it for him. So I actually paid the customer's bill because he was going to go get some lawnmowers out of the back of his truck to go mow some lawns to make the money to afford to pay the bill for his truck. And at 80 years old, he doesn't need to be doing that. He needs to retire, enjoy his life. Basically, he worked all of his life already. So I just paid the bill for him and gave him the keys and said, nope, don't worry about it. I paid your bill. And actually, I believe it was almost a year later, I actually got a letter from him. It was a card, and he wrote a thank you card. At that point, my boss came up to me and he said, hey, do you remember this customer? I was like, no, not off the top of my head. Mostly because I thought I was in trouble, especially if your boss ever comes up to you, and especially in the dealership, and he's like, hey, do you remember this customer? It's mostly a bad thing. So when he came up to me and asked me, I was like, no, not off the top of my head. I don't really remember. He handed me the card, and he said, hey, the guy that you paid the bill for, yeah, sent you a card. And I was like, oh, that was nice. So I would say in terms of that, I really wasn't looking for anything in return, nothing at all. I just wanted to help somebody out. So that's what I did personally. And if any dealership, if you see me in a dealership, I'm not going to rip you off. I like to be open and honest. I'm an open book. I'm very straightforward. I don't beat around the bush. I'll tell you exactly what it is and not try to squeeze anything out from you. So overall, that's the end of this video. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe to my channel. I'm at 103 subscribers, like I mentioned. I'm trying to get even higher. The goal, I guess, would be now 200, I guess. I don't really know. But so if you're new here, subscribe. I'm going to try to make more videos. Kind of let me know what kind of topics you guys want to see in the comments, mostly because I'm not 100% sure what anybody wants to see. I know typically my experience working at such and such is definitely a big topic, mostly because people are trying to look at what to get into. So people who have done it is definitely a great way to get some knowledge on that topic. But overall, mostly because I used to not have time, because dealership you work from 5 a.m. till like 7 p.m. So I really didn't have time. My goal here now is I actually stream on Twitch. I play Apex and do YouTube. That's my goal ultimately, is to film YouTube videos, vlog, so I can have more stuff to do and film, most because right now I don't have anything to do. So I also stream on Twitch as well. So my goal is to be a Twitch streamer as well as become a vlogger on YouTube. That is the ultimate goal. That's for my full-time job, to not be held down by a certain job, 9 to 5. I want to be my own boss, sign my own paychecks, do my own thing. But like I said, if you guys enjoyed the content, please subscribe. Leave me a comment on what you guys want to see for the next video. I'll be more than happy to make it. If you guys want to see my experience working at somewhere else, if I haven't worked there, I guess I'll apply. But I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day, evening, afternoon, good night, wherever you're at. And that's all for me.